Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes. She's coming straight from the Berg. She is Shay Hickson. Shay, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. Just hanging out. Just recovering from Rumble weekend. It was crazy. It was a
Yes.
good time. But yeah, might as well just get right into it. It was the Rumble this
Yeah.
weekend. The Rumble.
The Rumble, the Royal Rumble. I know you've said it many times that it is your favorite event all year, besides WrestleMania, obviously. But this Royal Rumble was insane. A lot of fun went into it. Like, being able to do what we do and making the content and everything, and being able to watch it with different people, and especially now that internationally people can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
That opens a whole new door of opportunities for like different viewers for like what we do and stuff like that. But it was cool to have friends being able to watch the show that are in the UK. I have a couple friends that are in Canada, and they don't have access to Peacock, or it's different time zones or whatever, and
Yeah.
they were able to get into the fun, especially us too, because we have a lot of people that are just getting into wrestling because wrestling is becoming popular again, that I we have people that have never even seen what the Royal Rumble is, like get their first glimpse of the
Yeah.
Royal Rumble and
Yeah.
loved it. It was insane.
It's so wild to me that there were more people in the Rumble or at the Rumble than at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's a bittersweet thing of, oh yeah, it broke the record. I'm like, I was part of that record once, and unfortunately not now. But the fact that they put that many people into that stadium was just insane, and that crowd was into it the whole time. It was a wild night.
Yes, it was. And we're going to talk about it all tonight. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. And we also have a couple questions to answer about the show itself, and a couple things that happened that I don't know if most people know about the Royal Rumble, but it was a great night. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble. Let's break it down, starting with the Women's Royal Rumble. A lot of interesting things with the Women's Royal Rumble. One thing I noted most about the Women's Rumble is that the amount of bodies that were
Yeah.
in the match at like the longest point of the match. There were so many women in there, obviously so many big surprises, but to me it was just like the amount of women that were in that match at one time. It was just bodies on top of bodies.
Yeah, I don't know about you, it just the whole thing kinda felt off to me.
Mm.
Maybe it had something to do with that fact, because it's funny you actually brought that up, because I was gonna bring that up because my friends and I were sitting there watching it, and we're sitting there going, "Why are there so many people in the ring? Just, like, eliminate people already." Like, they were into, like, the double digits by the time they started really actually eliminating people, and it just was so chaotic to try and pay attention to because you don't know where to look, you don't know who to pay attention to, you don't know, like, what's going on in the corner. Well, I don't know because there's 10 other people on the other side of the ring doing their stuff, and it was just chaotic, and then when you actually start eliminating people, you have one spot where you got rid of 6 people pretty much all at once.
Yeah, that was crazy. That one spot where there were like a bajillion people on the apron, and kind of like Nia just kind of bulldozed everyone, and everybody
Yeah.
went flying. That was pretty interesting. Shout out to the presence of NXT on the
Yeah.
in the Women's Royal Rumble. We had Roxanne Perez, Lash Legend in there. Jada Parker was in there, and the NXT Women's Champion Julia and Stephanie
Stephanie.
Becker,
Yeah.
all from NXT in the Women's Royal Rumble. That was a pretty huge surprise in itself, having that many people from NXT in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it was we were kinda, like, trying to predict who was gonna show up, and it was kind of funny because we have a question about it later, and there was one person in that Rumble where I'm like, "She's not showing up, guys, like, just get it just don't even think about it, it's not gonna happen, she's not showing up." Sure enough, she does, which obviously we'll get to that later, but I'm just, so when Jada Parker came out, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, we kind of talked about her shit before, so it's just like, whatever. Roxanne coming out as early as she did, I'm like, this is going to be a big deal, ends up breaking the whole record. So anybody who
Yeah.
thinks she's not getting called up's fooling themselves, because
Yeah.
you don't have somebody from NXT break the record and not expect to have big plans for them. So I was kind of surprised Cora Jade wasn't in there, but Lash Legend in there was pretty cool. Julia and Stephanie both being in there was fucking wild to me.
Yeah.
Like Stephanie comes out and we're like, oh, this is great. This is just gonna be fucking fantastic. And then Julia shows up and we're like, oh, this is just a great time. This is fantastic. And so yeah, had some good surprises. I'm glad that they did kind of what we talked about last week, where I'm glad they didn't announce, oh, I don't know, all but like 5 people in the
Right.
Rumble. So there was way more room for surprises, and boy, did we get some surprises. And
Yeah.
then the ending, and then it was just like, at least for us, it was just kind of like the air just left the room, because not that we didn't expect it to happen, we expected it to happen. That just doesn't mean we didn't have to like that it happened. And obviously, we mean Charlotte winning, and it was
Right.
just kind of like, uh,
Yeah. I
kind of like
mean,
sucked the life out of everything when it happened, because it's just like, do we really need this? Like, did this actually have to happen?
I knew she was winning as soon as she was walking down to the ring
The pyro.
and pyro was going
Yep.
off. I was like, yeah, she's winning this
Li
whole thing.
I literally said the same thing. I'm like, "Well, there you go." Like, it's happening whether we like it or not, and
Yeah. I mean,
clearly we're getting it regardless. And what I thought was kind of just strange to me was these vignettes bleeding up to her coming back. It was heel Charlotte, like, "I'm the best, no one's better than me, blah, blah, blah."
mhm.
And then you turn around and have her, starting with the press conference afterwards, kind of like having her talk earnestly and having her talk like she's a good guy. And then you parade her out into Cleveland
Yeah.
and kind of have her do the same thing. And it didn't go so well. They booed her out of the building. And I don't know if you saw this one tweet or not, but Jack actually sent it to me, and I had seen it earlier before he sent it. But the fact that um the person that tweeted this essentially just said that they've miscalculated pretty much everything that's had to do with Charlotte her entire career.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of goes into, you start padding her stats early on when she first gets called up to the main roster against Sasha, because then you
Yeah.
can, kind of, oh, well, she's has all these records just like her dad, blah blah blah. And the sentence that kind of got me a little bit in that tweet was, despite what the stands would have you think, most people aren't actually that stupid and can see when you're doing shit to artificially inflate someone's stock,
Yeah.
which can't argue with that. And then kind of just torching WWE's decisions real quick, where it's like the WrestleMania three-way, beating Asuka twice at WrestleMania, constantly going over Sasha on every pay-per-view, just drop it a week before a pay-per-view on a Monday just to re-win it at a first ever pay-per-view, and having all these like artificial moments for her.
Mhm.
And then you get to like most recently, where she wins a title, she loses, she leaves, comes back, immediately gets into a title picture, wins the title, loses it again, goes away for months at a time. And obviously, like the tweet also said, and like we would obviously agree, injuries suck. It sucks that she got hurt. But this isn't the first time she's come back from an extended break to automatically be shoved into a title scene. So
Mhm.
doesn't really kind of like break the stereotypes people have of her. And
Right.
it's just so weird to have her, like have these heel promos and vignettes leading up to her coming back, only for her to turn right around and expect her to cut this, oh guys, I just wasn't sure I'd be coming back, like this is just like getting the Daniel Bryan kind of sympathy pop.
Right.
What was WWE thinking with this? Like,
Yeah, I don't know what they were, because that's not even her strong suit, to be honest with you.
no.
She's trying to over here trying to be like the female division John Cena, and
Yeah.
that's not what she's good at. But I think what you said brought up a very good point, and it's always been the point that I had with Charlotte when talking about Charlotte, and the fact that there is a large contingent of wrestling fans that don't like Charlotte. And a lot of it is not really her fault. It's the way that
No.
she was booked. When she came out, just like you said, they forced her down our throats and forced her all these title reigns down our throats so that way they can stat stat pat this artificial, record of championships
Mhm.
and be like, just like you said, so that way Charlotte can be just like her dad. Um if they would have done it naturally instead of having her already have, I don't know, whatever, 13,
Too
14
many.
titles, yeah, to her name already. If she would have had 5, there wouldn't have been any issues. Nobody would be complaining. If it wasn't so standard to see the way she operates, where she has to go away when she loses, comes back in the title scene, wins the title, loses it, leaves, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
It's such a pattern with Charlotte specifically that's been done so many times that, like you say, we could just kind of look through it and it's just like, oh, here we go again. Um, I don't I feel bad for her because if the idea was trying to get her over as a face,
Not
it
happening.
it failed miserably, and then it failed miserably at the expense of getting sympathy because she was hurt, which
Yeah.
sucks. Which sucks, like you said. It sucks, like you said, and then when you try to use that, and everybody's like, "Oh, boo, that's bullshit. We don't want to
Yeah.
hear it." It just looks bad. So now, the good thing is Triple H is very good at listening to the audience and pivoting to give them kind of something that's better and more aligned with what they want to see. The problem is that it's Charlotte. So
Yeah.
Charlotte has a large piece of the fan base that no matter what she does, she's never ever going to be in their good graces, basically.
Exactly, and like we said earlier, it's just a shame because it's not like she's telling them to do that. It's you kind of just and from what we've heard from various stories and just also kind of common sense if you think about it, where sometimes it doesn't matter what the talent thinks. If certain people in higher up positions have something they're dead set on, it doesn't matter what the talent thinks, it's gonna happen anyway and you're gonna like it. And I think in this case, if previous people in leadership would have paid attention and been like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we're doing this a little bit too much. We're kind of like pushing her a little too hard. Maybe we'll scale it back. Maybe people wouldn't have such a, I think the best way to put it is just disdain for
Yeah.
Charlotte, where you have a large, like you said, portion of the fan base where you hear her music and it's just an audible, like, ah, fuck, seriously,
Yeah.
here we go. And it's tough because you can't take away from her ability in a way. It's kind of sad though that when she got in the ring, within 5 seconds, I'm like, well, she still can't chop to save her life. Like her chops are still bad, but it's not like she's a terrible wrestler. It's just a shame that the way she has just been overbooked has just like soured a lot of people off of her, and it's just a shame because it's not like she's terrible. It's just it's just still too much. There's just still too much, but unfortunately, we just gotta deal with it, I guess. And like we had talked about last week, hopefully she puts her effort into this because if she doesn't, oh boy.
Yes, well, Charlotte Flair is the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble winner, the first woman to ever win multiple Royal Rumbles,
It makes it
and now
worse.
she's going to have the opportunity to either face Rhea Ripley, which they had a little segment on Monday Night Raw that was quite interesting because
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it was like Charlotte's like, well, you and I have already done this. I'm kind of over that. And Rhea Ripley is like, I respect you, but now I feel like I have to beat your ass because now
Yeah.
I feel disrespected by you. But she
Yeah.
also said tonight because this is Tuesday evening when we're recording this. So she said she was going to appear on NXT to have a little situation with the NXT Women's Champion Julia.
Mm.
And then she said she's also going to visit Tiffany Stratton. That's the match that I want. I want
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton, and obviously you do as well.
Yeah. I love Rhea. I don't need to see Charlotte and Rhea again. I know that they can have a good rivalry. I know they can have fantastic matches.
Hmm.
Not something I necessarily need to see again. I don't really want to see her with Julia because I feel like I just have PTSD from the last time she challenged somebody in NXT because that went horribly, horribly wrong for everybody involved. But yeah, that it just makes sense. Tiffany and Charlotte, like the star power that feud could have is just justifiable in and of itself. I don't think you really need to sell people on that one. You just let it go, and it's going to be a good match. Like you can almost guarantee it's going to be a good match, but it's got to be Tiffany because there really is no other like decent option.
Yeah, not only that, like, Monday Night Raw, the situation where, Rhea Ripley inadvertently cost Io Sky an opportunity to
Yeah.
be in the Elimination Chamber, you know, that is very intriguing in itself because I would love to see Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship.
Oh, absolutely. That's the WrestleMania match I want to see. Like that's not even a contest. Just give it to me. Give it to me now. It's gonna be interesting to see how this happens, though. I'm wondering if they might do another like last chance entry into the elimination chamber because it would just
Right.
really shock me to not have Io get anywhere near the title picture. It would kind of be a disservice to everybody involved. So they got to do something to get her back in there because how can you not?
Yeah, especially the fact that, unfortunately for the time being, there's no Dakota Kai, there's no
Yeah,
Asuka, there's no Kyrie Sane.
there's
You
nobody.
you yeah, you really have to do something with Io Sky. You can't just let her sit there and just vegetate. She has
Yeah.
to be a part of something because that's the type of performer that she is, that she's gonna deliver in the best situation. I saw somewhere where they alluded to maybe Io can go back to, remember when she turned on Candice LeRae in NXT and kind of went
Mm,
on that little demented sort of
yeah.
unhinged Io Sky heel run.
Yeah.
They alluded that maybe she can go back to doing that, and that would make her interesting, and that would make a situation for Io to maybe challenge Rhea. Like you said, there could be. I also thought the same, like a last chance match for those that lost their qualifiers for the elimination chamber. They get a last chance match to get the last entry in there, and then maybe that's how Io wins. But again, it
Hopefully.
has to, yeah, but again, it has to all sort of steer in the direction that she's slowly losing her mind, and that she's tired of being, nice Io Sky and everybody's friend and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that was good. But that is the Women's Royal Rumble. A lot of interesting things. I know people want to know what we thought of the surprises and everything like that. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we get to the questions. We're just generally talking about the event itself. And then next up, we had for the WWE Tag Team Championships in the 2 out of 3 falls match, we had DIY Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa defending the titles against Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin. Unfortunately, I think that the women's Royal Rumble, which has always been great for the past few years, has always been fantastic. The match that follows it is sort of in that death spot because
Yeah.
the energy was so high for the women's Royal Rumble that people needed time to catch their breath and take a break.
Yeah, I'm gonna I hate to say it because we talked so highly about this match last week going into it. We said this could easily be the match of the night. This could steal the show.
Yeah.
It was underwhelming and it's a shame because you look at this on paper and you're like, yeah, this is a match of the night like 9 times out of 10, but I think it kind of is attributed to what you said where it's in the death spot. The crowd's like trying to wake back up. So I
Right.
feel like that was, and I feel like too, what also didn't help is that it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. Maybe if it was just a regular, it might not have been
Mm,
as like, you know, taxing on the crowd. I feel
right.
like it's a little tough to go from a match that was over an hour long into not just a regular match, but oh, you got a 2 out of 3 falls match next. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh God, that if we knew watching the whole thing what we know now, I would have flipped it. I would have given it Cody and Kevin next because that would have woken the crowd up immediately. Like that match
Mm.
was insane, and we'll get to that next. But yeah, it was just so underwhelming. And then you put the Street Profits in there, and it was kind of confusing a little bit.
Yeah,
But
that did confuse me a bunch because at first it was like, okay, they cost them the match. The Street Profits are heels, and then they go ahead and attack DIY after, and then they're like, okay, we don't know what the Street Profits are doing.
Yeah, and it did not help with that reaction at the end because the finish and you just barely got a reaction from the crowd and I'm like, shit. That didn't go the way it should have, but
Yeah, I
again,
think
I think it was kind of in, like you said, in a terrible spot, so I think it wasn't really gonna help it too much, but which is a shame because that could have been a WrestleMania like quality match, and it just didn't work out.
yeah, and I think, like you said, the idea that maybe putting it to be a single fall match instead of 2 out of 3 falls, because that in itself just lets you know, okay, the match itself is gonna be quite not long, but it's gonna be pretty beefy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it'll be
maybe
interesting to see leading into WrestleMania what's gonna happen because if you try to make this a three-way for feud for the title, I don't know if this is gonna have enough, gas in the
mm,
tank to get to the or to WrestleMania, but we'll
yeah,
see.
that's gonna be very interesting. DIY, thanks to the Street Profits, basically, retain the WWE Tag Team Championships. But the Street Profits are back, and afterwards they attacked DIY. So again, that leaves the tag team division situation leading into Elimination Chamber, leading into WrestleMania, kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But the one bright spot is it's looking better in terms of depth. I mean, you got the
Mhm.
Street Profits, you got DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, but you also have Pretty Deadly, Los Garza, which is getting showcased a lot more. Over on Raw, you got Chad Gable advocating for the Creed brothers and everything they got going over there on Raw with the tag division. So the tag division is thriving. It just probably was a misstep for this event to have that type of match on the card.
Yeah, it was gonna have that kind of reaction no matter what, unfortunately. Being put right after the Rumble and then on top of who won the Rumble didn't do them any favors.
Exactly, exactly. So that brings us to the next match on the card, which was for the WWE Undisputed Championship. It was a ladder match
Mm.
where there were two titles. There was the real title up there, and then the paper championship title that was up there. And the object of the match was to retrieve both of those titles. Now, let me tell you, this ladder match was a pretty brutal ladder match.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
it was pretty stiff. They were taking liberties with their own bodies and putting themselves in situations, that being Kevin Owens and champion Cody Rhodes. They were doing things to their bodies with this ladder that you couldn't pay me to
No.
put my body through at all whatsoever.
No, and that's coming from the person who said you would fall off the you get thrown off the cage last week,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, if I have to, gun to my head, that's the one I'm picking. But I don't really want to do that. And it seems like, uh, I don't know. It's just the thing about Cody matches is even this match still had that old school wrestling feel to it. It
mhm.
felt like that old school grudge match. Like, yeah, they've been fighting. Now they have to amplify it and go to a ladder match because that's the only way they're going to solve this situation that they're in.
Yeah, and kind of funny. We talked about this last week, the whole Cody's descent into the dark side a little bit, and boy did that show up in this match, especially at the end when Owens pushed him far enough and that Alabama slam onto that ladder.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's fully pulling an Anakin right now. He's kind of descending into the dark side a little bit, and it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, we saw some more of the wrinkle in the stories with Kevin and Sammy on Raw, but you kind of could see Cody's jaw jacking at Owens a little bit as he's still like head stuck in the ladder for a good like what 10 minutes straight. He never moved, which we thought was funny, but he's just kind of like shit talking him, and you can kind of see Sammy getting over it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. This is gonna get interesting. This is gonna be very interesting. And then just when you think, oh well, maybe Sammy's gonna go back over onto Kevin's side, then he gets the shit kicked out of him on Raw. So it's like this is that quintessential Triple H storytelling where it's like just when you think it's gonna go one way, he just goes a completely different way, and now you're like, well, now what the hell are we gonna do? But God, that match, ugh, just
Yeah, it
that
was.
slam on the ladder still is just getting me. Like, oh
It was like it wasn't spots that were like um obnoxious to be obnoxious. Like
yeah,
they weren't hardcore spots to be hardcore spots. They
yeah, they
were
had purpose.
right. Yeah, they were exactly. They were logical spots placed in perfect places. It's just a matter of they were so brutal, like that back body drop that Kevin Owens took to the corner of the ladder. I
Yeah.
was just like,
Oh,
oh,
ugh.
oh no. And then he hits the fisherman buster off the second rope to Cody onto the ladder, and the way Cody's body just bounces off the ladder and collides into the mat. It was just like,
Ugh.
this is making me
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like
Ugh.
it's
It,
and like you said, that kind of descent into the dark side where Kevin Owens is busted open and um Cody kind of takes advantage of that, just pounds away at his face,
mhm.
opening up that cut even more. And I don't like fast forwarding to what we saw on Monday Night Raw with Kevin Owens attacking Sami Zayn. The logic behind that is me thinking Kevin blames Sammy for Kevin losing because he
Yeah.
expected Sammy to help him, and Sammy technically just watched him die.
Yeah. It's more gaslighting. It's that more gaslighting we talked about where it's never Kevin's fault, it's everybody else's fault. And it's just, oh, is he going to finally break Sammy? Is this going to finally be what does him in? But I don't know. It's, like I said, so many layers, so much drama. It's just, this is what we come to expect.
Yeah, definitely. And this is I think what people wanted to see out of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This is the type of build up to a match that everybody's wanted to see out of them because
Yes.
they know that they were capable of getting this sort of drama out of them. And then but then it leads to the situation, what's next for Cody? Like
Hmm.
obviously we're gonna talk about the men's Royal Rumble and the craziness that happened with that. But it's a matter of okay, now he's starting to run through these guys, and now with the situation with the Royal Rumble, and we went into this like if we rewind months ago, we probably thought okay, Cody and Roman 3 or some sort of Cody
Yeah.
bloodline situation at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania rather, and now I don't even think there is going to be a Cody bloodline situation at WrestleMania.
No, I don't think so. It's so funny how once again, right when we think we've got it all figured out, Triple H is like, "Yeah, that's funny. That's cute that you guys actually think you know what we're doing here." And then that men's rumble just genuinely shocked me in a good, obviously in a good way. I wasn't mad about the ending, but I'm just like, "Holy shit, that actually just happened." And it
Yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah, it did, and that obviously we're talking about the men's Royal Rumble. This men's Royal Rumble, obviously, just like it is every year, was vastly different than the women's Royal Rumble, where there was a
Yes.
multitude of bodies in the women's Royal Rumble. The men's Royal Rumble didn't have a lot of that, and everything was very much more methodical, I guess you could
It
say.
seemed quicker too, though. I don't know if it was just like the fact that they were actually eliminating people left and right, or we've talked about it too that there is no way that they like are at a set 90 seconds between every entrant because it's even been shown people actually like count these and do the research on it and it's not actually accurate, but it just seemed like they were moving it along a little quicker. I mean, obviously it's at the end of the night, so they don't have a time schedule for the most part, like unlike in the women's match where you got three other matches and behind you, but it just seemed quicker. And again, I'm glad that you caught it because we did too. Sitting in our in the apartment, we're just like, this is completely different than the women. They're just like throwing people over left and right. They're not really like throwing them over for the most part in bunches. It's just like you're thrown out and then you're thrown out and then you're thrown out and then somebody else gets thrown out. And it's just it's kind of weird. I wish I would be
Mm.
very interested to see if maybe they flip that in future rumbles where let the women be a little more methodical with more eliminations quicker, and you don't have 20 people in the ring at the same time, and then see how the men do with, having so many bodies in there at once. But obviously, they will have to wait for next year to see if they listen to us. But it was, I feel like it was a little more enjoyable of a Rumble. I feel like the ending obviously also kind of built, built into that a little bit, where everybody was expecting when Jay and Cena were in the final two. No offense, I'm sitting there going, I got this in the bag. Eric's done. He picked Punk. I got Cena still there. And then he gets eliminated. And then we're all like, my friends and I, and my parents were there too. We're all just kind of sitting there, and we were like shocked, genuinely shocked that holy shit, Jey Uso actually won this Rumble. Like, nobody would have expected that to happen ever. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was dead set on Cena winning it. As soon as he was in the final two, it's like, oh, he's got this. This is, again, Triple H fucking with us, where you think you had it and he just subverts your expectations, and then all of a sudden Jay wins, and it's great. Unless you were online, which in that case it was not so great, but I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't have a problem with Jey Uso winning. I didn't see it happening. And I thought it was very interesting. I went once Punk got eliminated, I was like, oh, they're going with Cena, which is would have been just fine to me.
Yeah.
To go with John Cena. That's not even a problem. Um, it's just so funny, like how there was this reaction online to the whole situation, but then you watch Monday Night Raw and it's like that
Mhm.
it was two separate reactions, and it felt
Yeah.
like Monday Night Raw's reaction was the reaction that mattered the most.
Yeah, cuz I think the best way to put it is that people online don't understand that they're not the target audience. It's the people
Yeah.
who pay the tickets to sit in the seats to scream
Mhm.
about what they want to scream about. And if the almost 70K people are happy that he won, guess what? Whether you like it or not, that's what they want to go with. And it's just, you kind of have to swallow your pride a little bit and just and realize that until you put your butt in the seat to watch the show live, your opinion really doesn't mean jack shit. So, hate to tell you, the internet wrestling community is not as important as they think they are, and oh well. But
Yeah, they don't like to hear that, but
no,
honestly, it's just like you see, like, okay, maybe the internet is in like some sort of bubble
it's a
because,
vacuum.
yeah, because when was the last time you heard a reaction so strong that they stopped the entrance music and then had to replay the entrance music on
Yeah,
WWE TV because the crowd was so hyped?
exactly. It's just like maybe one of these things is not like the other things, and yeah, it's just people are always going to complain about something. These are obviously the same people that have been happy for him this whole run, and it's like, oh, he's finally earned it. He's shown that
Yeah,
he can do it. And then when the like WWE and the higher ups finally listen, and they're like, yeah, he's going to get that moment that everybody's been wanting for him. The internet wrestling community is like, no, wait a minute, that's not actually what we wanted. Well,
yeah.
too fucking bad. That's what you're going to get, and it's going to be deserved and earned. It's not like they pulled it out of their ass. Clearly, they had a reasoning for doing it, and it's, oh, I don't know, because maybe he's one of the most popular guys in the company right now.
It really is. I mean, that reaction, especially last night, and I mean, what a promo too, like straight from the heart,
Yeah,
full of emotion. It was real. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't bullet points. It was just a guy talking out there and really having a hard time kind of controlling his emotions. I said myself, I was like, if that was
yeah.
me, I would have been a blubbering idiot.
Tears.
If I wasn't on stream, I probably would have been crying myself because it was just that kind of raw emotion that you saw a guy who really got his flowers because he's been working so hard. And why aren't we celebrating that? Why do we have to be
Yeah,
so negative and not celebrate a man getting rewarded for working hard and saying, "Hey, you could put the company on my back if you wanted to."
because it's so easy for everyone just to complain about something and can't just admit when something good's going, because as a society, we are just negatively impacted by pretty much everything. So whatever. I choose not to do that. I say good for him. I mean, again, genuinely shocked. A little mad because I
Yeah.
picked it and follow through, but I'm also not gonna scream on it on about it online. It was a great match. They had me a couple times, not gonna lie. There were some times where I'm sitting there and of course the absolute dread my friends and I all experienced when we realized Logan Paul was 30. We're just like, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, that's fucking fantastic. But then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I just had a very terrible thought about all of this. And my mom was sitting behind me and she's like, don't say it out loud, just text me and we'll look at it after. And I literally, I don't know if you had the same thought. I had a terrible thought that they were gonna have Logan Paul eliminate Cena to get like the ultra mega like heat on him, and
Right.
I'm just sitting there and I'm like, please don't do this. I'm like, Triple H, please, for all that's good and holy, do not do this. Like, this is
Yeah,
not
they
the
had him
idea.
do it. They had him do it to Punk.
Yeah, which just as bad.
Yeah.
Definitely just as bad, but still, I'm just like, please don't fall for that trick. You know, the worst part is previous ownership would have probably done something like that.
Oh
It,
yeah.
which would not have worked at all, but some people don't have foresight. Who would have thought? But it was great. Like I said, they had many moments where I'm like, I have no fucking idea what's going to happen at this point. Like, we all thought it was going to be a specific Final Four, and it absolutely was not a specific Final Four because three out of the four got eliminated almost instantaneously. So we're like, well, forget that then. And it's just, yeah, just that's the beauty of the Rumble and why I love it so much is that it kept me guessing from like start to finish. It was wild. We had some returns. We had some moments that I really didn't care about, and I'm sure you can figure out which one that was. But yeah, that's just the Rumble in a nutshell. It's just the you
Yeah.
never know what the hell's gonna happen.
Yeah. Also, shout out to I Show Speed,
Yeah, yeah, that's the
who
one. Clearly, I didn't care about, but a
that
murder.
kid got absolutely trucked
Yeah, yeah,
in real life. Like, if
yes.
anybody ever says anything about wrestling being fake
Just
or
watch that.
anything like that, or not hurting or not being physical at all, watch that, because
Hmm.
that kid got destroyed. And I'm honestly, if you think about it though, it lets you know the position that WWE is in the sense that now, ever since they've gotten to Netflix, all you see is celebrities,
Yeah,
influencers, all these important people watching and consuming WWE because, to be honest with you, WWE is cool again,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. It
And
is.
that's why they're able to do these things. Again, 70,000 bodies, paying customers, you know, just average out like $250 per person that paid to go in there, how much money they
Uh-huh.
made. It's
Yeah,
just, they raked in so much money.
all the
Eh,
money.
all the money, more money than we could even fathom. But it was a fantastic event. I enjoyed it immensely. I had a lot of fun. It was for me, particularly doing what I do with the live streaming and everything. It was long. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie, it was
yeah,
long, but it was a very, very fun event. Again, just kind of brings me back to the old days of Triple H running NXT Black and Yellow, where it was just like these events, they're just good. They're good.
yeah.
They're home runs, you know?
What can we say?
So, yeah. So there it is, the Royal Rumble. Now we have a bunch of questions in regards to the Royal Rumble, so that's why we didn't really give our personal analysis. We kind of just let you guys know the major points that went down in the show, but now we're going to answer some of your questions about the Rumble and some of the things that surround the Rumble and what's going on, because it's WrestleMania season. So
Yeah.
things are starting to get crazy.
That's an understatement. So let's just get into these questions. Let us go with we're gonna start with moms because hers were very Rumble centric. Who were we surprised to see and who were we upset weren't in the Rumble? she was glad that Hogan wasn't anywhere near it. I fully agree with that. He deserves nothing. So who was I surprised to see? I was definitely surprised to see for the women. I was surprised they got Lash Legend in there. That was pretty cool. I was surprised again. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I'm surprised they put both Julia and Stephanie. I would have. I was kind of thinking, okay, well, if we're getting Stephanie, that's good enough. That's good for me because I like Stephanie. She's great. And then you get Julia too, and I'm like, oh, they're just pulling out all the stops. And then to have the one person that I kept telling my friends up and down leading up to that Rumble, there's no way she's showing up. It's not happening. They pretty much said it's not happening. To get fucking Alexa Bliss back was wild. Like, absolutely just wild. And it was funny because I feel like I mentioned it that my like little mini game I like to play with myself is always just who's the number 21. Not that I ever think
Yeah.
21's going to win because clearly 21 never wins, but it's just like that's my lucky number. So I always try to play a game of, oh, well, is this year's 21 for both Rumbles going to like top years previous? And I said the no one had beaten yet that Edge coming back at 21, period. That like blew everything else out of the water. Nothing could top that. This year, I think both 21s were pretty shocking and pretty surprising. So I feel like it might have a beat this year. Could you get both Alexa Bliss and AJ Styles back at 21?
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I think we finally found the Rumble that's that has had, and I think this one has been the best for the 21s just for the mere fact of both of them were like, holy shit, this was a great number 21. So because normally it's, oh well, the women's number 21 entrant was really great, but then like the men's sucked or vice versa. So to have both of
Right.
them be like, oh, these are fucking great picks, then I won last night or on Saturday. Even if we still don't know what we're doing with the predictions because technically
Yeah,
we
it was
both tied, but
yeah, it's kind of tough because there was only 4 matches to kind of predict on the card. So,
yeah.
next time that happens, I think I have a couple of ideas of
Flip a
how
coin.
to yeah, or how to like make sure we don't fall into that trap. But I gotta say, Alexa Bliss's return, the reaction that the crowd had
Who went
was
nuts?
insane. That place went bananas.
As they should. She deserved
Yeah,
that. She definitely deserved that. That was wild. I feel like in terms of who I was upset wasn't in it. Obviously Dakota Kai through obviously no fault of anybody's. That was just kind of sucked because I hoped she was going to be there, and then clearly, you know, a concussion had to derail those plans, so that didn't happen. That kind of sucked. It would have been cool to see Cora Jade and the women on the women's side. I was a little mad they didn't have Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. That kind of made me a little upset.
mm,
Men's side, I feel like the one person that I wanted to see was never going to show up unless contract things like were different. Obviously, I
yeah,
wanted Malachi Black, but that didn't happen. Joe Hendry being in there was fucking great. I was so
yeah.
happy that happened. That was great. Obviously, like I said, wanted Malachi or Alistair, but that's not going to happen for a little while longer, which is fine. But those were the ones I was happy and or mad about because they showed up or didn't show up.
Yeah. Um for I think what's interesting is that I didn't really have outside of like Malachi when the thought kind of flashed in my head. I didn't really have anybody on the men's side that I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I need this person to come back." It was more so the women.
yeah,
Obviously, for me the pick would be Alexa Bliss because that reaction was just insane. Like the camera literally started shaking when
yep.
she was walking down the ramp because the fans were going crazy. So I was like, "Oh, this is insane." And I wanted to see AJ Lee so bad.
Oh yeah, no, I completely fucking forgot. Yeah, that was the one where I'm like, she's got to be 30. She's got to be 30.
Yeah,
If it's not her, it's Becky Lynch. That's another one. I'm like, damn it, I wanted Becky back. I wanted her back so bad, but ah, gotta wait a little more, I guess. But I don't know why I completely forgot it. There's just so much shit that happened that I'm like, it had. I was hoping for one of them. I knew if it was going to be one or the other, it was going to be Becky. Didn't get either of them, so it's like that's
You got
fine.
Nikki Bella.
That just my friends were excited, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, I guess like I wasn't thrilled. I didn't wasn't really glad to see her, but whatever. Clearly other people were, which is fine. I got Alexa, which is, you know what, that's good. That's good enough for me, but didn't really want Nikki. I wanted Becky or AJ, but it is what it is. You can't have it all.
You can't have everything you want.
Nope. All right. So, that's just more of a comment. Congrats to the men's winner, obviously Jey Uso. Women's winner was no surprise to her. It was not a surprise to me. It wasn't a surprise to
Yeah.
you. Surprise to nobody, really, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was surprised that Charlotte Flair ended up winning. I don't think so.
Unfortunately not, because why why wouldn't it be? That's just how it is. I'm gonna switch these two in order. What was our overall rating of the Rumble?
Ooh, good question.
Are we doing the flames?
Yeah, out of 5 flames, I would give this a 4.5.
I was gonna give it 4. I was gonna,
Okay.
yeah. I think just the women's Rumble just kind of being paced oddly, and then it kind of like affecting the tag match after it, kind of knocked it down a few flames. But
I'll
uh,
tell you what, I'll knock it down. I'll knock mine down to 4.25. I'll go four
all
and a
right,
quarter.
I convinced you, so we're
Yeah.
back on the wavelength. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
overall, it was still fun. I'm always going to enjoy Rumbles again. They're always going to be my favorites. So it was still a great time. It was a great time having my friends over and getting to scream about it with them. So it was still fun though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was fun. Like I said, it was probably the longest stream that I've ever done. The stream was like
Yeah.
6.5 hours long.
Oy. And
It
you
was
probably slept for 5.5 days after that. Like you
no,
needed it.
what's funny was I was so amped up on like energy drinks and caffeine that I
Oh,
didn't get good sleep, and the next day I just went completely nonverbal. Like it was just like
yeah.
my social battery,
Yes.
it depletes quite easily, and when you do these types of streams, you're talking the entire time.
Yeah.
You don't go mute. You're talking the entire time, and then after the event, I hopped on a little pseudo podcast with a couple of my friends who were on stream, and we
Yeah.
talked about it for like another hour. And it was just like, yeah, that was fun, but I'm going to sleep. Nobody bother me. So I'm really,
Yeah.
I'm really anxious to see how WrestleMania is gonna go because, man, that was an experience. But the best part is, like I said, we have a couple people in our little community that are just starting to be wrestling fans because they see how cool wrestling is starting to become again, and they've never been exposed to the concept of a Royal Rumble. So
Yeah.
like one of our friends, Bella in particular, that this was her first one, and like she was so into it, and it was so fun to see. Like that's the stuff that I like to do, and that's the reason I like doing all of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the beauty of, just getting to talk of wrestling and scream and, just share it with all the people that also enjoy it and some people that are new to it too, which is even better. And it just keeps growing.
Yeah, yeah. So I got to give my rating for the Royal Rumble 4.25 flames, and you say 4.
Yeah, I gave it 4. So we're still close. We were
Yeah, we're
pretty,
still close.
which is not surprising. I mean, what do you expect? The only thing we got wrong was the prediction. So
I
one
think
prediction.
I think everybody got that wrong because everybody
Yeah.
that I asked, like, did you have Jey Uso winning the men's Royal Rumble on your bingo card? And they're like, nope.
No, I don't think anybody did. Wild to me, but hey,
Very,
we like that. Hey, we like the surprises. We talked about it. We love the surprises.
for sure.
All right. So I switched this one because this was going to be the talking point. I don't know if Mike has a question. I think he might about this, but it seems like there was some drama in and around the Rumble afterwards. And Mom said kind of reminds you of AEW a little bit with the drama. And obviously, I think she's alluding to the whole thing with Drew McIntyre because that was like the biggest drama coming out of the Rumble was the fact that supposedly he may or may not have been a little upset that his elimination did not go the way it was supposed to go.
I mean, what do you expect? I mean, this is not any normal match.
Yeah.
This was a match where multiple bodies were in the ring at the same time and
Hmm.
multiple things were happening at the same time that even if his elimination would have went the way he wanted to, who's
Yeah.
to say there were enough eyes on it anyway for
Yeah.
people to react the way that he wanted to? It's one of those things where it just happens. I don't understand why you're so upset. Like, I heard that he might have been upset because somebody needed to get their moves in, and maybe he
Yeah.
has a gripe there. Maybe that's a gripe, but in terms of the elimination itself, not going off the way he wanted to, I mean,
Yeah.
shit happens.
Yeah. It's just a whole bunch of just mess. But then you gotta add into it though the whole, oh well, I don't know if like that's what he's actually saying, if that's he's just like, bullshitting us because that clip, remember, of him going around being like, unless it comes from me, it's total bullshit. So it's like, are they making this a whole big deal just for the clicks of it and the drama of it all? Or does he actually have a legitimate right? Because supposedly it must have been between LA Knight and Logan Paul's mess that caused all of this, which wouldn't surprise me considering
Huh.
who's involved. But I don't know. I don't know whether to believe it or not because apparently Drew wasn't at Raw this week. So take with that what you will. But I don't know if that's like they're playing into it or if he wasn't supposed to be there in general. And it's
I
just,
don't.
again,
Didn't he go? He didn't go through the transfer window.
did he? I don't know. I don't think he did.
Huh.
Even if he, I don't know, because I don't feel like, but I think the whole thing's very coincidental, maybe accidentally on purpose, where this whole shit happens at the Rumble and then coincidentally he's not at Raw. So, of course, that's just adding fuel to the fire of,
Right. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
maybe he's just actually pissed, or maybe they just did that thing again of, oh, well, let's just turn this into a story because people love the drama. So, I
Yeah.
don't really know what to believe, to be honest.
That's the one thing about WWE though, is that this won't be a AEW situation where it's going to drag out for months and now you're going to see two people not being used on TV because Tony Khan wants to make an example out of people and
Hmm.
blah blah blah. Whatever sort of animosity is going to be handled and they're going to use it to make money.
Yeah, exactly. It's always just it's all about the money, it's all about the attention, it's all about what can we obviously do to get more eyes on the product. So, of course, anything they're going to do is going to be done with a purpose. So, this is just one of those, well, we'll just wait and see what happens because for all we know, it could have just been a big misunderstanding. That happens all the time. So,
For sure.
who knows?
For sure.
All right, so that was all of Mom's questions. So, Mom, thank you as always.
Thank you, Mom.
Anyways, go on to Mike's questions, and I feel bad because I feel like we fully just already answered this first question was, are we believing the dirt sheets about Drew being upset after the Rumble, or are we thinking or believing him when he says, unless you hear from me, don't believe anything you read about me? I mean, who's to say? That's the worst
I'm
part.
If anything, I would believe Drew because he doesn't seem like a guy like if this situation was kind of, it feels like to me if it was legit, he wouldn't say anything at all. He would just
Yeah.
let it right out. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? But for him to come out and say, I didn't, if it's not coming from me, that didn't happen. I mean, honestly, if it did happen, he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't say anything.
Exactly.
So to me, I think maybe there was a little issue, and it probably got sorted out and people made a big stink about it. Oh, he left the arena early. He's so upset.
Yeah.
Maybe something happened. Maybe they expected him to be somewhere else the
Yeah.
next
Didn't
day
have
or
to
something.
say.
Yeah, yeah, it's like
Yeah. Not
we
everybody
don't.
stays till the end, guys. Like, that's, you know,
Especially if they have you traveling for media or you
yeah.
need to get to you don't know his flight situation
No.
and
And if you
like
do, you're
what.
weird. Like,
Yeah, like yeah, exactly, like nobody knows unless you work for the WWE what happened. So
exactly.
when you speculate about stuff like that, you look like that fan.
Yeah, you
And
like that conspiracy theorist, take the,
the
like, tinfoil off your head.
well, not only that, you just look like a shit starter to the other
Yeah.
wrestlers. That's why the wrestlers don't really jive with fans, because these fans nowadays all seems like a bunch of shit stirring.
Yeah, and it's not cute. It
It
doesn't make
isn't.
you look cute, it makes you look stupid, and
It makes you look psychotic, to be honest with you.
yes, because it's just like it's also that thing too, if it really makes you look like you don't have a life,
Really, like, get a job, have
literally,
s
I don't make wrestling my entire personality because I have a life outside of wrestling, believe it or not, it's shocking,
seriously.
it's like, that's what you're supposed to do, whatever. We're not gonna go down the rabbit hole, that could be a
Yeah.
whole fucking episode of us just, trashing most of these people. Anyway, what was our men's and women's Rumble highlight for us? Oh, definitely Alexa coming back for me was number 1. That was for the
Mm.
women. The man, I gotta give it to Joe Hendry, I have to. It was just fun on top of the whole, I think the next, 1A and 1B, the 1B would have definitely been that chaos that happened between Seth and Punk and
Oh, that
Roman,
was a
because
lot of fun.
there was just so much shit where you're like, "What does this even mean?" Because everyone's just beating up on each other, and then CM Punk's
Yeah.
going after Heyman, and I'm like, "What does that fucking mean?" So that was a mess. And of course Henry coming back, 'cause that was fun. I like
Yeah.
that a lot, because you knew it was one of those, you knew it was coming, you just didn't know when it was, but it just made you smile and made it, and had a good time. So yeah, Alexa coming back for the women especially, and then Hendry and that chaos of what you want to, I don't know what the hell you want to call it, outside of the actual, Rumble match that was only going on.
Drama.
So much, like I said, so much fucking drama that we don't know how to deal with it.
Really, really. For me, for the women, it was a moment that nobody picked up on until somebody had posted it online. And for me, it's the funniest thing. It's Jordan Grace mashes Bianca Belair into Naomi. They fall in the
Uh,
corner. They
yeah,
fall in the corner, and then
yeah,
Jordan starts stomping on Bianca's head,
hmm
forcing her to like motorboat Naomi. And
yeah.
Bianca Bianca's in the middle of the match cracking up.
Like, how
I
can you not laugh at that? Like, if you're in the middle of this match and that's happening to you, how the hell can you not just, laugh at just the ridiculousness of it all?
but that's because, like, Jordan Grace is really, really funny. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
she's ridiculously funny. So those things happen to her, like, all the time. She just saw an opportunity to do something funny, and she took it. And, like, I watch that clip all the time now, and it's just so funny to watch Bianca just crack up, start laughing in the middle of the match.
It's like, if you're having a bad day, just watch that clip. You'll cheer
Seriously,
right up.
seriously. Or you could watch the other clip from the men's rumble, my moment of I Show Speed getting
Get
trucked.
destroyed, yeah. If you're
Like,
feeling bad about yourself, watch that, and you'd be like, "You know
it's
what?"
it's literally whether you watch it sped up, because there's sped up versions of it and
Yeah.
it's horrible, and then there's slow-mo versions of it and it's horrible. Either way you look at it, from whatever angle you look at it, it is horrible. This kid's body, you ever see Doctor Strange? You know when they
Yeah.
when the lady hits him with the thing and the
Uh-huh.
spirit comes out of the body and just
Yes.
gets sucked back in? That's exactly what it looked like.
The
That's
did you see the edit of, as soon as he gets hit, the, sonic rings go flying
yeah,
everywhere?
yeah, yeah.
That was pretty accurate, because you could not pay me enough, and
Mm-mm.
Braun wanted to get that head start, and boy did he, because once he got it the second time, I'm like, "Oh, this kid's dead. He's
Yeah,
so fucking dead."
yeah, because the way I see it is, okay, you wanna take somebody's spot from the Rumble?
Sure.
Somebody that works here? Sure, we'll make sure it's gonna be the most memorable thing in the world, and it was, because
Yeah.
it garnered so many views online. I think, like, what, like 300, 400 million views?
Yeah, sounds
A
about right.
across all social media, like,
Yeah, bet he won't do that again.
Yeah, and then not to mention he gets thrown into Otis, and because I Show Speed eliminated Otis, Otis was like, "Fuck
Fl-
that," and just flung him up in the air like 20 feet. He goes crashing through the announcers table that don't break anymore because
no.
they got the high quality announcers desk now that don't break. Poor kid went through the ringer, but that'll let you know
Yeah.
if you want to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, if this is what you want to try and dabble in, be my fucking guest. But
Yeah.
you're gonna pay for it, and boy did he, and it's a damn shame.
Oof.
Anyway, if Jay chooses Gunther, which I feel like that's gonna probably be the plan, and Charlotte chooses Tiffany, which we feel like that's gonna be the plan, then who do we want, not think, to go after Rhea and Cody? We already said it earlier. We wanted to be EO to go after
Mhm.
Rhea because that's gonna be great. Cody, on the other hand, that's a whole other like, I don't know who I want to go after him. That's because that's the specifics, and we know Michael yell at us if we say who we think's gonna go after him and who we want. So we want
Yeah.
EO to go after Rhea. Who we want to
Yeah.
go after Cody? Boy,
If it's who we want to go after Cody, I'm going CM Punk. Um
yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good one. I feel like
yeah,
Seth would be another good one too.
Seth would be a good one, but man, Seth Roman is very intriguing at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that Punk and Cody promo, I'm like, oh boy,
Yeah,
oh boy,
exactly.
give
They're
us what
leaving
we
money on
want.
the table. They're leaving money on the table with that one there.
Yeah,
So if we're going off what we want,
Punk.
what I want is Punk.
Yeah, Punk, Punk and EO.
Yeah.
Those are our picks.
Punk and EO. There
God,
you go.
could you imagine if those are actually what's gonna happen? Like that's gonna be fucking insane.
I'll go to Connecticut myself and ask for a job.
Yeah, really, really. We'll do whatever.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, so we're going to. All right, so I'm going to make my executive decision again. I'm going to flip these. So obviously, as much as it pains me, no Aleister Black at the Rumble.
Mm-mm.
When do you think he shows up? If he shows up, like he's gonna show up. It's just a matter of when. I say maybe. Well, it's tough to say when because we don't know when his contract's up.
Right. Yeah, you don't know when his contract's up. Let's say hypothetically his contract is up. We're just waiting for the right time.
Chamber,
Um
chamber,
uh
chamber qualifier match. Anyway, depending
I
on who he's
mean
against, though.
but I feel like if he's coming back and hypothetically he has no contractual obligation standing in his way, I would wait till after Mania. Give it a fresh slate.
Oh, all right. You want to wait? All right. You gotta be patient, I guess.
Give it a fresh slate because you bring him back now and you don't have anything for him to do at Mania. People are gonna
Yeah.
be like, "What the fuck?" Like,
Yeah,
how are
and
you
I don't
gonna
want to
bring
deal
him?
with that more. Like,
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna be like, "Why'd you bring him back if you have nothing for him to do at Mania?" Newsflash: not everybody can get on these PLEs. That's just the law
yeah,
of the land, the way it goes, the
yeah.
way the cookie crumbles. Like,
Even
not
with two
everybody.
nights.
Right, exactly. They did 2 nights, obviously to make more money and obviously to use more company employees, but still, not everybody's gonna get on there. Unfortunately, like, people like Shotzi couldn't get in
Yeah.
on the Royal Rumble last night or anything like that, and I know that was a big point of contention and things like there's only so many spots. You
Well, it's
gotta
like,
work.
guys, you didn't get Shotzi, but you got Alexa. I think it's a pretty good fucking trade. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
relax.
Yeah, and that'll let you know even more about the whole Drew McIntyre thing about who to believe. Look, everybody the whole week where they were saying, "Oh, Alexa and WWE, they're having a contract dispute.
Yeah.
She's nowhere near coming back. She might not even come back at all." And then boom, she gets the
They
loudest
told
reaction of
us.
the night. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'll let you know whether or not you should be paying attention to whether or not Drew McIntyre was pissed off about his Royal Rumble elimination.
Yeah, they sure made me eat my words, I can tell you that, because I was dead set she wasn't coming back, and then I had to look like
Yeah.
an idiot, but it was fine. It was worth it. So we'll see when he shows up. It's just a matter of I think it's a matter of when, not if, because I feel like
Yeah,
where else is
because
he gonna go?
yeah, exactly. That was my
Come
next
on.
point. Where the hell else is he gonna go? TNA?
He's not going to go where his wife is, please.
Yeah,
Give me a
seriously.
break. And you're not going to go work for the guy who believed in you when nobody else did in NXT, please. Like, come on.
Again, yeah, because for some reason Triple H just gets him. You
Yeah,
know, he
because he's smart.
understands. Yeah, he understands how to use him and understands that this guy is world championship material, and he can sort of give us like the vibe that the Undertaker used to give us back in like the Attitude Era when we were kids. Like this
Yeah,
guy is a supernatural force that shouldn't be messed with. Like all the cards are there. It's just a matter of when, because where
exactly.
where the hell else is he gonna go?
Exactly. Just give him to us, please.
Yeah.
We're begging you, please.
That's the whole thing. If you don't have a no complete clause in these contracts, Tony Khan, just let him go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like if that's your own stupidity, then deal with your own stupidity. Eat the
Just
shit.
let him go. Like they're not making money, you're not making money from them, and so just let it go.
Yeah. I mean, if they have the injury time, that's one thing. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But
Right.
if they're healthy and they don't want to be there and they don't have a no, just let them go. Just let them fucking go.
Just let him go.
Not doing anybody any favors. All right. So our last question, surprisingly, is not Rumble related. It's AEW related.
Ooh.
Mike has heard the announcers in AEW say that Moxley having the AEW championship locked in a sack or a briefcase or whatever is like holding the title hostage. Are we buying that narrative, or do we think it's just a way to explain why he never has the belt out? Um, Honestly, I feel like as drawn out and repetitive, and I think, let's be honest, at this rate, boring the whole Death Riders thing is,
Mhm.
it fits the vibe. It fits the motif of he really doesn't give a shit about AEW. He doesn't give a shit about being champion. I think that's the whole like gist of it. It's just to
Right.
prove a point. It's a means to an end. So I think it makes sense to have him say, and well, I mean, I don't think he's pretty much said it. I think it's pretty much just the way he's acted and what he has said in and around the whole title scene. It was never about the title, so why would you have someone who, if he's spouting off that he doesn't care about the title, why would you have him hold on to it?
Right.
The
I
biggest
think
slap in the face is to hide it and be like, yeah, I really don't give a shit about it. See, it's been in this briefcase ever since I won it. I don't really give a shit. I just want to create anarchy. I want to create chaos. So it makes sense.
yeah, yeah, and I think, that is kind of how it opened my eyes to the whole situation, because if you think about it, for me as a wrestling fan, I take it as a fan like it's disrespectful for the guy that is supposed to be the world champion, which everybody wants to be.
Yeah.
In wrestling, everybody wants to be the world champion. He doesn't even have the decency to show the title, so I guess as a fan, me being upset and feeling disrespected as a fan, that's what kind of makes it work,
Yeah.
um just the whole storyline is just like not interesting anymore. It went from being okay, this is interesting, to really quickly being, this is not interesting anymore. So I was
Yeah.
just like, that's the most surprising thing about the whole Death Riders situation. Um and I saw a funny, not really funny, but a poignant tweet that was like, we see everything of like how WWE is using celebrities and influencers and things like that to keep the product looking fresh and getting new eyes, while they have the Death Riders out here kidnapping the Rock and Roll Express. It's
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want to be negative about AEW. I don't want to be one of those guys where it's like, oh, AEW is so bad, but it's starting to weigh on me. It's starting to weigh on me because
Yeah.
I talked about it last week where I didn't watch AEW for like a week because WWE is so dominant in the content, but I didn't miss anything. I
Yeah.
literally missed nothing,
Nope.
nothing of substance, nothing worthwhile, nothing at all I missed. And I didn't watch AEW for a full week. And then when I went back to watch AEW, it was the most dread. It was like, God, can this be over already? This is
Yeah.
dragging. Bro, and it was like the most miserable I've ever been on stream, because it was just like, oh my god, and I'm dreading going back to it tomorrow for Dynamite because it's like, please be a good show. Please be a good show for my sanity. Uh
Yeah, it's the struggle of AEW right now is
it
just
is, it is, it is.
rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
It's a struggle to remain optimistic too because I don't want to be one of those fans that are constantly bitching online.
Yeah, but they're also not giving you anything
They're
other
not, yeah.
new.
Tony Khan's really not helping me out.
No, he really isn't. It just makes my head hurt. But with that being said, though, we are all done.
All right. Well, thank you guys for contributing to the show and talking about the Royal Rumble and giving us something to talk about. We really, really appreciate it. And if you've been listening to the episode and this is your first time listening to the Ringside Rundown podcast, thank you very much. And just to let you know, you yourself can contribute to the episodes as well by submitting your questions. Every episode, we do either a entire episode of answering your questions or a segment of answering your questions for the podcast. And the best way to do that is to get in touch with us. You can send in your questions. We post up a tweet every week, a day before the episode, asking you to send in your questions. So you can send it to us via Twitter. Our Twitter is at Ringside Rundown, or you can hop up in our Discord. Our Discord link is available everywhere, so you can find it in our link tree, linktree.com/ringside rundown. And there's a special channel where you can drop your questions for the podcast as well. Like I said, it's available all across the board on any platform you use to listen to podcasts. So if you're into wrestling podcasts, please consider following and subscribing after this episode so that way you are up to date on every episode of the Ringside Rundown. And if you can't find it on your platform of choice, don't worry, just hit us up on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Ringside Rundown. Let us know what platform you use, and we will get you a link to that platform on a silver platter. But the caveat is you have to give us back the silver platter because we only have one, and it belongs to Shay's mom, and she's crazy. This lady is crazy. Okay. She will hit you with fourth degree black belt jujitsu moves that you've never seen before in your life. So
I I have no comment on that.
yeah, because Shay's felt the wrath.
I
Shay's felt the wrath, you
I have
know.
felt the wrath for 28 years and it's not going to stop anytime soon, so I'd
So,
rather just make it as painless as possible.
there you go. Make sure when we give you that silver platter with the episode on it, you give it to us back because this lady will take you out. She's an assassin. She's an assassin. She's crazy.
Mhm.
Um, but
I've learned from her. I've learned from the best.
yeah, but like I said, we're available on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ringside Rundown. You can also check out full episodes and highlights on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@ Ringside Run Pod. We also have a merch store where you can get Ringside Rundown merchandise and support the Ringside Rundown. Whether you want some hoodies, we got zip up hoodies, we got pullover hoodies, we got crew neck sweatshirts. Shay, do you know we got jogging pants now? We got
Yeah, we got
sweatpants.
sweatpants, we got
We got
everything. We
we
got
got
everything you can think of.
we got beanies. It's crazy at our Ringside Rundown merch store, which you can check out ringside rundown shop.fourthwall.com. Let you know in March, I got a whole new design. Ringside Rundown is getting a revamped new
Oh
logo.
shit, facelift.
Yep, a whole new facelift, and it's crazy. It's so good. I am
Yeah.
so proud of myself. I am so good. Anyway, check that out. Check the merch out. But like I said, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Ringside Rundown. And also, I do live watch along streams on Twitch and YouTube for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, and Collision on Twitch and YouTube. Twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown, youtube.com/@ Ringside Run Pod. Again, twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShayleneHigson21, talking an absolute fool about all the things, pretty much anything you can think of. Star Wars, wrestling, sports, music, video games, you
You're
name
just
it, I've probably complained about it
you're
somewhere.
you're just a hub of nerd pop culture.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I probably have some type of interest that would resonate with somebody. So
There you go. That's why she's a good follow. So make sure you drop a follow to get in what she has to say. So next week we'll be back with another episode. I don't think we have any special events, so this one might
nope.
be just a questions episode. So make sure you get your questions in on the Ringside Rundown podcast so that way we can answer. Again, we'll answer anything that has to do about wrestling because that's what we do here. We love professional wrestling. For Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez. Thank you for listening, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
See you later, guys.